Catch myself like this.
I don't always do spirit connections, but when I do.
Good evening. Welcome to another fun-filled night here on Spirit Connections, the summer edition. I always feel like it's like season 2, like or we switched the name, but we didn't. So welcome, guys. I'm so glad to have you guys here for our special half-hour edition. Tonight I have Mr. Tim Weisberg, host of Spooky South Coast, and also co-founder of Legend Trips.
Right. Well, I probably do an equal amount of the grunt work, so I'll take co-founder.
I was going to say, can I call you co-founder? Or is that?
Yeah, that's how we usually represent ourselves. You know, there's no organizational structure. Basically, no matter what, I'm just always going to do whatever Jeff tells me. So
yeah, it's just easier just to do whatever Belanger does.
Yeah, whatever he says goes. It's not worth arguing.
So I'm happy to have you on. You make an appearance once, sometimes twice a year here, since you're right down the street. It's so convenient.
It is.
Just to come on in.
Sometimes I'm lurking outside the building and you just don't know that I am.
Right, just kind of peering through the... It's funny because when I was in the bathroom doing a wardrobe change, I looked out and I could have sworn I saw you. I mean, it might have been someone else, but...
No, it's probably me.
Yeah, it's probably just...
If not me, someone who works for me.
Right. So, what have you been up to? What's going on?
Obviously, very creepy, pervy stuff.
I know.
No, I mean, I've been doing a lot of different things. I actually just completed... I can talk about it a little bit. I just completed work on a paranormal reality television series. Well, I should say an unscripted paranormal television series.
Unscripted? What do you mean? I don't understand.
Well, I guess in the television biz, they've decided to stop saying reality, and they start saying unscripted. So they say it's an unscripted program dealing with the paranormal. So I just, it was a 3-episode order, and I was the writer and researcher for the 3 episodes, and hopefully it'll be something that gets picked up and I'll work on it in some capacity, but if not, that's cool too. At least I got the experience.
Well, that's pretty exciting. Can you elaborate a little bit about what it could be about, or no?
It's an investigation show, and that's probably pretty much all I can say. I did the work of trying to locate where they could go for the investigations that fit within the thematic structure of the program.
Great.
So I have to try to find places that are not only haunted, that will not only allow them to come in and investigate, but also fulfill their, I guess what you could call like their storyline purposes, what they want to have in terms of their investigation, because they want to take this to a different level. And from what I understand, everything went great during filming, and they had a lot of stuff. So when I can talk about it, and when I can let people know the name of the program and all that stuff, then you're definitely going to want to tune in, because from what I heard, and I'm dying to see it myself. So hopefully I'll get a chance to see it before it airs on TV.
Good. Well, but congratulations.
I'm not high enough on the chain for that. I'll probably just have to watch it with everybody else.
Yeah, but you know what though? It's something that you've been working at. I don't mean just getting onto a paranormal TV show. I mean, you're a writer. This is what you do.
Right.
So if you can combine writing and your passion, like that's the best of both worlds.
And you know this. We've had people come at us and want to have television programs with us, and there was one where they wanted to kind of pull me out of the Spooky South Coast mode and pair me with Chris Balzano on something. And then there was another one where they're going to focus just on Spooky South Coast. And I know the paranormal side of things. I don't know the television side of things. So by doing this, I was able to learn how TV works and what they're looking for. And I also realized that I have no desire to ever really be in front of the camera on a series like that. I would much rather prefer to be the guy behind the scenes crafting all this stuff, because I don't know how much more rewarding it could have been than it was to be able to put those words on paper and have them say, hey, we're going to use this.
Good. And so, I mean, that kind of, if you think about it, what you do as far as Legend Trips, same type of thing. You go out, you find the location, you do the history on it, you start putting it together, along with Jeff Belanger. I'm going to give him credit too, obviously.
Yeah, he does some stuff.
Some of the stuff.
He delegates very well.
But at the same time, this is something that you have started doing, and it's all kind of coming into formation for you.
And I like that end of things better than necessarily being on a team and going out and investigating every weekend and doing all of that. I'd rather be the chronicler of the things that are going on. I'd rather talk to the teams that have investigated and find out what they've come up with. I think, going on a Legend Trips event and doing the event with the people, that's a lot of fun. And I think what keeps bringing me back to that is the fact that I'm seeing people have these experiences for the first time. And I'm afraid that if I was in these places just by myself or with a team, it would become almost mundane for me. And I wouldn't have the same passion for it that I do now.
Right. Right. And so now you're pretty much just living your dream, Tim.
Well, if the dream paid a little more, then it'd be a nice dream.
But it's climbing. It's getting there.
You got to start somewhere.
We start talking about Legend Trips. I was with you in New York. We went to Parahistory Con in the beginning of May, and we talked Legend Trips. There was a huge community that came out for that event, for the Parahistory Con, and when we talked more about Legend Trips, it was just outsourcing and getting people more and more involved. And it kind of centralizes right in southeastern Massachusetts. So it's nice because now people have another reason to come, not only for the scenery and the Red Sox, but now they can come for Legend Trips. I mean, you guys have had people from Minnesota, Michigan fly in.
Oh yeah, from Florida, New Jersey. A couple came from Arizona to the Mark Twain House. And for me, when I was at Parahistory Con, and this is no slight to John or to his event, but when we're doing the investigation portion, people are coming up to me and saying, this is fun, but this is no Legend Trip. And from now on, we only want to go to Legend Trips events. And that means a lot to me because that means that we're doing the job right. A lot of, and I'm not disparaging anybody in the field, but a lot of people who get into this, they see other groups having events and saying, well, I can do that. And they don't realize that it goes beyond just opening the door, letting people in, and teaching them how to investigate.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of planning that goes into it. We spend months figuring out how to best attack each location. And even then, when we still get there, there's still things that change on the fly. With Mark Twain House, we thought we had everything in place, and as you know, we come with a printed itinerary for everybody.
Right.
And when we got in there, they said, okay, well, we just have to make a slight change to the zones. Well, now that throws off everything that we planned and everything that we have printed out. But you have to be able to adapt to that on the fly. You have to be able to know what happens, if somebody was to happen to, trip in the dark and hurt themselves, or if somebody's going to need to leave in the middle of the event. You need to know how to handle all these situations. And I think too many times you have people who just look at it as, this is my opportunity to make some money. And it's not about making the money. It's about being able to provide the experience. The minute it becomes about the money, then you're just going to be doing it for the money. You'll cut corners, you'll do whatever. But if you're making it about the experience, then you'll always have something that people want to come back to.
It's all about quality, folks. And obviously, your Legend Trip events, you sell out. There's a lot of times it's sold out.
Well, we try to keep it so that, that we'll always sell out, because we want to make sure that the locations that we're going to will get the maximum amount of money. We don't want to go there and promise them, well, we're going to make you $25,000 in one night. So we like to keep the expectations realistic. And at the same time, some of these events, they'll sell 100 tickets.
Right.
How are you going to sell 100 tickets to a place, that's only so big?
Right.
You're going to end up hurting people's experience. So we try to keep it manageable, but at the same time, we want to make it so it's worth the while of the place that's letting us take over.
So, for instance, sorry, I cut you off.
No problem.
For instance, Lizzie Borden, we always talk about Lizzie Borden. So that's a smaller, what's the capacity there? Because don't you work on fire laws and so forth in some of these locations? And
we do, and that tends to be a problem. Lizzie Borden, we can only sell 25 tickets. And that's because we have a staff of about 10 people with the owner there, the tour guide. We bring our photographer, Frank Grace, to all of our events. And so when you get to the point when you've got 5 to 10 people that you have to bring with you every time, that limits the tickets that you can sell. So we're very beholden to the fire laws there. It's a little bit different when you get to a bigger place like the Houghton Mansion or Slater Mill, where you can have 120 people in there if you want to. And then you have to decide, well, we could have 120, but we don't want 120. And then you have to cut it down.
Right.
And that's when you have to make that tough call of where can you make it so that it's going to be a good experience for everybody, but at the same time, it's also going to be enough money raised for the location as well. So we had that happen with the Mark Twain House. We actually were right up against fire capacity, and there were people that would normally be part of the staff that couldn't come.
Right. Because
we had already peaked out. So you got to look at each individual situation and decide what's best.
Exactly, exactly. And I mean, the good thing is the consistency as well, because we had brought up Lizzie Borden, capacity of only selling 25 tickets, but you have gone back to Lazy Borden since Legend Trip has started. So it's something that is good both for you, both for the enthusiast who is participating in these events, and also for the curator, the homeowner of Lazy Borden. And it's a win-win. Everybody seems to win.
And that's why we have to do that one twice a year, because we just can't fit everybody in that wants to go.
It's dead of winter, and what's the summer one?
Dead of summer.
Dead of summer. Oh.
And what's funny is we'll have people that want to go to both. You know,
Right.
they'll be, and that's the great thing about Legend Trips is if you go to an event, then I get your email address when you're purchasing the ticket. I put you into the email database so that every time we put an event on sale, you get first crack. And anybody that goes to the website and signs up, they also get first crack. So there's people who are just waiting for those announcements to come, and they'll be amongst the first. And that's a good feeling for us as the people that run it, to know that there's people that had a good enough time that they want to come back again and again.
And I think it's all very well done. It's all very well done. So, I mean, I think that if you continue on and you get the regulars like you usually do, it's a win-win. Now, July 12th is your next Legend Trip event. Where are you going?
We are going to the Murdoch Whitney House in Winchendon, Massachusetts, which is a location that is new to us and new to a lot of people in the paranormal. It's only been open for investigation for about a year and a half. They've let a few teams in, but this will be the first time they've ever held an event of this magnitude at the house. So we don't exactly know what's going to happen, but the important part is we will have air conditioning. That was my first concern.
What about working bathrooms?
Oh yeah, there's definitely it's the
I always worry about the working bathrooms.
It's the offices of the Winchendon Historical Society.
Okay, so
it's a functional building, and but after doing the USS Salem last August and being in a metal a big tin can.
Awful. It was great, but it
One
was
of the hardest days of
awful.
the year.
It was just, and I chose to wear jeans. I don't know if you had shorts on or jeans.
I think
but
I
like,
wore shorts, yeah.
It was just, it was horrendous, but fun at the same time.
It was, and I mean, by that point, everybody is sweaty and everybody stinks.
And you just
So
don't care.
Yeah, you lose the
don't
self-consciousness about it. But yeah, when we left, I basically took the clothes. When I got home, I took the clothes on, took off the clothes that I had on, and I basically just threw them away because they were so soaked with sweat. I was like,
So
I'm never going to be able to
disgusting.
get these clean.
And we had hot pizza too. Make sure you get it while it's hot.
And then we had the one giant fan that was supposed to be cooling everybody, and somebody would walk in front of it, and you'd yell at them for blocking it, and then at the same time, you're like, whoa, you're just blowing your BO in my face.
It was bad all around.
So yeah, I mean, the USS Salem, sadly, looks like there won't be any more events held on there, but if they ever do, it won't be in August.
I actually think that was one of the last events that was held on the USS.
We were the last, yes.
Yeah. So
We've been the last for them and the last for the Haunted Victorian Mansion till they get some things up to snuff that they got to work on.
Understandable. So that's amazing. So now,
Hey, once you go Legend Trips, you can't go with anybody else.
and again, we get the repeat people constantly. Again, we always talk about it, how people constantly come back, and they will go to other events, and it's not the same. It's just not quite the same.
Well, the biggest complaint that I hear about these other events is that they're just celebrity meet and greets. So they're paying $300, $400 a ticket to go and hang out and meet people from the TV shows and investigate with them, and that's fine. There's obviously a great market for that because those companies are doing very well, but we don't try to go that route. We try to stick to making the location the star. And it's just a different approach. We can all work hand in hand, and we encourage people, go to these other events.
Right.
You know, do whatever it is that makes you happy. And I'm not saying that you need to come and compare what we do to what they do, but just be aware that when you come to one of our events, it's going to be a different experience. We're going to let you actually get hands-on with the paranormal. And
you will love it. So are there still tickets available for July 12th?
There's a very slight few. It's another one of those locations where we are limited, not so much by the fire laws. We could probably have, a good 60, 70 people in there, but the Historical Society wants to keep this one a little bit on the smaller side, just to start out. And then if it works out and things go well, we could increase it by 10 or 15 tickets next time. But for now, we had to keep it pretty low. And then once we announced that Dustin Parry was going to be there, then more tickets started flying, and then we said it was, but we haven't even announced yet that because it's his birthday, we're going to have cake.
Okay, so cake? Seriously? Even more reason to get
Right.
the tickets.
Although because it's Dustin, we may go pie instead. I haven't decided
I think
yet.
you should probably get pie and cake.
Right.
We'll
Well,
give him the pie,
we'll at
and
least
then
get
we'll just
Dustin
get a
his own pie.
huge, yeah.
I'm going to have my wife bake Dustin a pie.
See, I think that would be great.
I think he'll enjoy it.
I think it'll be, yeah, perfect. And not only that, like you said, it's a smaller group of people, so the first time you're actually being able to get into this location with a small group of people, and it's a Legend Trip people. You really can't go wrong. So tickets are still available. How can they get tickets, Tim?
You can go to legendtrips.com. That's where you can sign up for the mailing list, get first crack. We do have more events that are coming up, including one locally here to the Wareham area. It's not often that you can get a chance to go to a Legend Trips event and only have a 5-10 minute ride home, so that when it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you're drained and you just want to climb into bed, you can just drive home. So take advantage of that while you can. And you know, what was the last one? Was Mark Twain House? That was 2.5 miles from home. 2.5 hours from home.
I was going to say, wait a minute.
2.5 miles.
Did you
That
just
would have been awesome. 2.5 hours from home, and I'm driving home with Matt Costa, and we're just zonked. And it was right around the time we were getting through Providence that I was talking to him, and he just looks at me and goes, "Do you even know what you're saying? You're like not even making sense at this point." He's like, "I don't know if it's you or if it's me, but this conversation's going nowhere." I'm like, "Yeah, I think we're both just loopy." And
Well, I think it's funny, yeah, because it got to the point, too, where I actually had someone driving me, and I was doing one of these, like, head nods, and then head rolls down. And
see, if we make
yeah.
Moniz drive, I just go to sleep. I'm not even shy about it, and I snore terribly.
Well,
So-
you guys both snore, right?
Yeah, but
I've heard
hopefully
some
he's
rumors.
not snoring if he's driving. But yeah, he is pretty bad. I actually just went to Minnesota recently to do a ghost investigation out there and a pro wrestling event. And the gentleman who brought me out there, Brian, said that we were sharing a hotel room, which I thought was a little strange. But then I remembered he's a pro wrestler and that's what they do. They share rooms all the time. So I was like, well, just to warn you, I snore badly. And he's like, that's fine. I snore too. We'll be fine. Okay. And then I woke up. I had been awake for like 27 or 28 straight hours.
Gross. That's just gross.
And so I went to sleep. I got like a 3-hour nap before I had to get up and go to the next event. And he just sitting there over on his bed, like with his eyes open, like almost like holding the blanket up and shivering. Like, what's wrong? He's like, you do snore bad. I was like, I told you, man. So
Well, they have the breathing apparatus for that.
I have one of those, but I didn't bring it with me because when you're traveling on the plane,
Oh, they won't let you.
you
huh?
can bring it, but it's your carry-on, or you have to check it.
Oh.
So because I was bringing my laptop, my ghost hunting gear, and a suitcase full of clothes, I didn't want to mess around with checked bags because I literally had to leave Providence at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and get to Minnesota by 11 o'clock at night their time. And it was like right on the mark. I could not believe I was able to make it there in time. So I didn't want to mess around with any checked baggage or anything.
Well, it seems like you're doing a really good job at staying busy.
I'm trying
History
to.
Con, and now you're going to be doing, the Legend Trip events. Obviously, Minnesota was an event for you.
Pretty much wherever anybody wants me to go, I'll go.
Doing
I mean,
your own TV show,
Yeah, well,
in the works. In the works.
Not my own TV show,
but it's in the works.
but having a hand in it. And then one of the things that I would like to have happen eventually is for Spooky South Coast to go syndicated.
Excellent.
The new ownership of the station, well, they've been the owners for a couple of years now, but they seem to be really on the ball about how to work out new media with traditional radio.
Good.
So I'm hoping that because what we do with Spooky TV, which I hope many people are watching this on Spooky TV, because of what we do, there's an added element now to drive people not only to the radio but also to the web. So I'm hoping that they see the promise in that and pick us up, and then we can get on more stations, because more stations and a bigger audience means more calls, means more interest, and it'll make the show that much more interesting.
Right, exactly. And you guys are already kicking butt anyways and doing a good job.
Well, we poached
So.
some of your talent, too.
I know. Stephanie came and joined Poach. But Steph went into Spooky South Coast, and now she's one of your co-hosts.
Yeah, what ended up happening is when I went out to Minnesota, I asked her to fill in for me. And so she came in and she did the show, and she did a great job. And a lot of people were saying, like, that's kind of what's missing from your show. It's 3 guys, and there's no feminine perspective. And I was like, yeah, I'd heard that. And then at the station's been having some discussions about wanting to have more female presence on air, because the whole station is just men. So we're like, yeah, it seems, and it had been in the back of my mind all the time to try to involve, both of you as much as we could
Right,
because
right.
you both can handle hosting duties. So I asked her if she'd be interested in coming, and it helps because she lives close by, and
convenient.
knowing with her current happy situation that
Yep.
she probably doesn't want to travel too much, and it'll give her an outlet to kind of still talk about things while she's going to be home and
Living the
relaxing.
passion,
Yeah. And it's good for me because then I don't have to be the one to ask all the questions all the time because, Moniz and Matt have kind of learned to take a secondary role to me over the years, I guess, because I'm kind of a dominating personality on the air. So because
I don't think you're dominating. I think that you ask. You're a host. That's what hosts are supposed to do. You ask the questions.
I try to get them to be more involved, but they just aren't. So now I've got somebody who's going to come in and isn't already part of that dynamic.
Right.
So kind of can be inserted in and say, well, if I'm not going to ask questions, why am I here? So
Right, exactly.
That helps out, and it keeps me on my toes a little bit too. And there's going to be some growing pains, but it'll work out, and then eventually we'll have a good flow going. Like already, I don't know how to introduce everybody because I was like, the silent assassin.
I know.
Matt Costa,
Everybody has nicknames. On
Science advisor Matt Moniz. Oh yeah, and Stephanie Burr. Because I don't want to keep introducing her as spirit medium or psychic
Right.
medium every time because then people are going to call for, can I get a reading?
Yeah.
So we were trying to come up with, so now I just introduce her first and then I get into the nicknames. At least until we officially dub her something.
I know. I wonder what it would be.
I don't know. I'll ask you off the air because you probably got
Okay,
some
all
pretty
right.
good, funny stories that I don't know about that we could come up with something.
We
to
always
surprise
have
her
funny
with.
stories here.
You know,
It's
maybe-
Spirit Connections.
Maybe there was some sort of time about a pickle and some Tabasco sauce and
I
she-
love pickles.
she
Grillo's
can be-
pickles.
She can be the spicy pickle Stephanie Burke or something.
I'm sure she would love that. No, but I'm happy. I'm happy for everybody, and I'm happy that there's been. I just had someone on the show recently, and we were talking about growing and transition and everything, and everybody is growing and on their own journey, and it just seems like everybody's doing really well at what they're putting their mind to. So,
But sometimes too, I mean, you become too comfortable in what you're doing, and you might not think that you're stagnating, but you are.
right,
I mean, and that happens to me with a lot of my approach in the paranormal. I'll get so wrapped up into one school of thought that I get dismissive of other theories. You know, and it gets to the point where if you're having somebody on the show and they differentiate with your set of beliefs, you never want to get to the position where you want to be combative with them about their beliefs because
that would get awkward. Yeah,
So what I try to do is I try to not stagnate myself in one school of thought. But then you realize, just with hosting the show, you can do that sometimes. You know, if it becomes formulaic, it's going to sound formulaic.
right.
So that's why we try to at least, change things up. We're trying to have the Week in Weird more often, which people seem to like, but we never work in. And it's like, well, why are we spending time on this interview, running 20 minutes short of questions when we could have that 20-minute Week in Weird segment that people like?
Right.
So it's just little things like that that you learn to tweak. I mean, 9 years on the air, we gotta change things up sometimes.
Which I can't believe it's been 9 years on the air.
Yeah, we're in our 9th year, and then when the 10th year comes, when we hit the big 10th anniversary, then hopefully by then we're syndicated.
And hopefully you'll have a big party to celebrate your syndication.
We just had that one first party, and then we never did it after that. And I don't know why we never did. I think because nobody showed up to the first one. But nobody was listening to us then.
And now everybody listens.
now we
Everybody
can-
hears you.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable putting on a party where we're the center of attention anyway. I'd rather just have us kind of glom onto somebody else's thing. That's our MO. We just ride everybody else's coattails.
Okay, that's good. That
Yeah.
works, I guess. That's all.
It's been getting us by this long.
You're right. You're right. So that's good. Legend Trips is going well. Your hopefully new show seems to be going well, and Spooky South Coast got an upgrade.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's great.
And I want to thank everybody out there that donated, because really that was and I'm talking the physical upgrade of what we've done.
Right.
The Spooky TV that we see when you're watching Spirit Connections on Spooky TV. You guys do this in a professional studio. You've got a staff. You've got great equipment. We're doing ours with a bunch of webcams and a shoddy internet connection. So we had to try to up it as best we could without any money. So we went to we went to GoFundMe, and we used a crowdsourcing campaign to raise enough money to buy at least a new laptop so that
Right.
we could have better processing power. And we were able to get a new laptop, one new camera, and we purchased the program that we'd been using for years for free, we purchased the full version. So now we can transition better between the camera shots, and poor Matt Costa is sitting over there in the corner running all this stuff while the rest of us are just talking. But we've been doing a pretty good job, and we've got lower third capability. You can see lower third to break down the walls for people. But
well, you know what? We had someone doing tarot on earlier, and that's what we did. We were able to get different camera angles, so it was nice.
And, yeah, and that's what we like. Nobody wants to watch the same boring static shot all the time if you can give them something different to look at. Sometimes you're limited. If you don't have 45 camera people around here, then you can't have 45 camera shots. But with us, we have the ability to at least set up 4 cameras with the program that we use. So if we can do that, we're going to try and give you 4 shots. We can incorporate more stuff from the internet now, which is pretty cool. If we're talking about a particular photograph, we can show the photograph. If we're talking about a particular video clip, we can show the video clip. And what's best about it is that it can actually just be done on the fly. So if the guest is on and the guest is like, well, if you go to my YouTube page, you can see this video I recorded, and as they're saying it, Matt Costa can call it up, pull it out in a window, put it up on the screen, and then whoever's watching can...
And there it is.
And it works out better that way. You're not fumbling to describe things on the radio.
I can remember listening to you, was it 1420 AM?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and then it went right onto the computer. So me and my paranormal group at the time, we would go and, okay, let's press play. Let's hear who's going to be on, and we would just conjugate around the computer and just listen.
Did you ever hear did I ever tell the stories of how we used to stream before the radio station streamed?
No.
It's really funny. Back in those days, WBSM was considered the old people station.
Uh-huh.
And they did not have the ability to stream over the internet. So we had people that were asking if they could listen live. They loved the podcast, but they wanted to stream it live. So literally, we were using this program. I even forget what it was. But Matt Costa would come in, get everything, because I didn't know how to work the board or anything yet. He would come in, he would get everything ready to go. He would tell me what I had to press in order to get on the air. Then he would fly from Fairhaven back to my house in Wareham, my wife's probably in bed at this point, but he would go into the house and he would set up in front of my computer a microphone with a radio playing, and he would be broadcasting that from my computer. So my computer was streaming whatever was going over the radio, so people could be able to hear it. And then he'd fly, once he had that set up, he would fly back to the station and hopefully be back in time before we had to go to the first commercial break, because I didn't know how to go to a commercial break.
You need to do a reenactment of that and film it. You should.
It was crazy.
As seen on. You should.
And then we tried doing the cameras early on. That didn't work out so well. Even the first attempt at podcasting was terrible. We were doing a practice show. We were planning it all out for weeks ahead of time, and they always had this little box, Tascam unit that was always in the studio that we would be able to record the podcast with. And we show up to do the first Spooky South Coast ever, promising people there'd be a podcast, and that little unit wasn't there. For whatever reason, somebody had taken it to go do something else with it. So we were panicking. So I went into my car, and being a sports writer, I always have little digital recorders, and also a paranormal investigator now, but I wasn't then. And so I took that little recorder and I plugged that into the board, and that's how we recorded the audio for the first podcast. And I totally clipped it out, and all I can hear is and poor Keith Johnson, who was our first guest, just gave us a fantastic program, and there's no
recollection,
no comprehensible record of it.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to share that story with us. But our time is up because we're doing the short half hours for the summer. And
I can talk a half an hour on my own.
Me too. I'm like, oh, I like the way I talk. Blah, 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 blah. Same thing.
That's what it sounds like when you're alone in the car?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But the best part about it, you don't talk when you're investigating. You know when you need to be quiet.
That's right. And that's one of the rules, kids. Do not speak when you're investigating.
I talk too much. I'm not Moniz talk too much, but I talk too much.
Well, there's also other bodily functions going on at that point, too.
It's true. I got some now.
All right. Well, on that note, I want to thank you so much, Tim, for coming on Spirit Connections. You guys go check out legendtrips.com. Get your tickets for the event on July 12th. There's only a few left, and come celebrate and eat cake. So until next time, thank you, Tim.
Thank you for having me.
And you guys have a great night. Thank you.